This year, I've been thrilled with the results that I've got from CineStill's new 400D color negative film. I shot my first roll at box speed, but after that I started shooting it at ISO 1600 and I asked my lab to push it to stops. That's because CineStill are practically begging for you to push this film, with markings on the 35mm canister for you to indicate to your lab that you want the film pushed 1 stop, 2 stops, or 3 stops. The D in 400D stands for dynamic, and CineStill claim that it has a pretty amazing exposure latitude. Certainly in those videos on this channel where I've shot CineStill 400D at ISO 1600, I've been blown away by the results. I love the images, and I think I've taken quite a few bangers around Brisbane's Bayside with those rolls. I've even claimed that shooting 400D is a viable alternative to Fujifilm's legendary Natura 1600. The colors, the contrast, the grain, everything looks fantastic when you shoot CineStill 400D at ISO 1600, and I think it provides much more bang for buck than buying outdated aging stocks of Natura. So the next logical step in this journey was for me to shoot 400D at ISO 3200. Surely that would give me even better results, right? Right? Wrong. And don't call me Shirley. In this video, I'm going to share with you the results of me shooting CineStill 400D at ISO 3200 in my Contax G1 with the Planar, it's very noisy, with the Planar 45mm lens, and then I asked my lab to push the film 3 stops. So I dialed in ISO 3200 on my Contax G1, I loaded up the roll of CineStill 400D, and I went out in quite dark shooting conditions to see how things would go. Now, when I had the film developed at Ikigai Film Lab in Melbourne, I asked for a Contax sheet. I usually get a digital Contax sheet, probably 1 or 2 rolls every time I send down a batch of 7 or 8. And when I got the Contax sheet back for this roll, I knew I was in trouble. As you can see here from the Contax sheet, you know, there's not a lot of light on there. You know, you've got this, in the middle section there, you've got this quite sort of red sort of sunset. You've got some images over on the towards the right in sort of taken in some daylight conditions. But all of the rest of them, there's just a few lights here and there. The Contax sheet doesn't look great. So as soon as I saw this, I thought, what have I done? I'm going to talk you now through 20 of the images on this roll. So the first image was taken here in Wynnum. If you've watched my other videos, you will know this scene. It's the alleyway with all those pretty sparkly fairy lights. Now this one here was taken in almost complete darkness. As you can see here, like the Contax G1 has exposed really nicely for the highlights. There is just no shadow detail. There's nothing there at all. I mean, you can barely tell it's an alleyway just because you can see sort of some of the lights on the wall there. So there you go, that's the first one. Not looking great so far. This is not a particularly great image, so I'm kind of filled with dread to see how the rest of the roll turns out. The next shot is of the gelato shop, and again, the gelato shop is a frequent haunt of mine for photography. Again, the fairy lights and the signs on the gelato shop look great. Everything else is really dark. So again, you know, there's not much light getting onto the film here. So even when it's being pushed 3 stops, there's not much to bring back. This next shot is by the railway station, or one of the railway stations, and it's like a framing shop. I've shot this on CineStill 400D before at ISO 1600. It looked fantastic. This shot here at ISO 3200, there was quite a sort of a red glowy sunset here, but this shot is really kind of weird. It looks like red scale film almost. It's really kind of odd, so I'm not sure what's going on here. I think this is kind of one of the better shots on the roll, would you believe? I'm still not sure if I like it or not. I'd love to hear what you think. Next up, we have Wynnum Central train station. Very similar shot to other ones I've taken at ISO 1600. Not much detail on the shadows there, but look, that one's okay. Next one up is a Chinese restaurant. Again, I think it's okay. Look, you've got the nice sort of light there in the background from the sunset. You've got some lights in the front of the building. But really, I mean, is this shot sort of passable? It looks a bit underexposed, and yeah, it's sort of atmospheric, but I'm not sure I like it all that much. Here is the fruit barn. Look, I really like the colors here of the sunset, but you can sort of really see that grain at ISO 3200. The grain at ISO 1600 is barely noticeable. CineStill 400D looks so good at ISO 1600. Here at ISO 3200, look, this is one of the better shots, but you can just see a bit more grain. It's okay, but I don't know, there's not much shadow detail there. I've only put this next one in because I referenced this shot on an earlier episode of Analog Hour. Of course, Analog Hour is a film photography chat show that I do with the wonderful Lucy Lumen, and you can find the video portion of that on Lucy Lumen's Analog Adventures YouTube channel, and of course you can find the audio only on Matt Loves Camera's podcast feed. So here you've got old mate dressed up as a Star Wars character. I think I called him Darth Maul, but of course it isn't Darth Maul, it's Kylo Ren. So you've got Kylo Ren in the middle there with his sword. And even though you've got a bit of atmospheric lighting there, look, it's barely passable. It looks like it's 1 or 1.5 stops underexposed. Next up, we've got a couple of daytime shots. So here is a close-up of a washing line, a Hills hoist, and this looks pretty good. Like, you've got some nice colors there. There's nice blue in the pegs, and there's kind of sunset coming through the trees in the background. You know, the big Bessa brick wall in the background doesn't look particularly picturesque, but you can sort of see it looks pretty good there in this sort of shot at ISO 3200. The next one though is really odd. Like, this was really sunny, this kind of number 76, this sort of brick wall of a factory. It was really nice and bright and sunny. It doesn't look great. It looks like the sun's down or something. It looks really quite sort of dark. So again, shooting this film at ISO 3200, I'm really not sure it's for me looking through the images so far. Now we're over in Cleveland, and there's a nice little shot here of Cleveland Lighthouse with this beautiful red, orange, golden sunset. I think it looks great. I think this one's probably one of the better shots on the roll. And then next up, you've got a close-up of the lighthouse taken about 20 seconds after. And as you can see there, because the camera is focusing, you know, it needs some area of contrast in the image. It's focusing on the lighthouse light there. And as you can see, there's just no color in the background at all because it's sort of metering for those bright lighthouse lights. So yeah, really interesting shot. I think the lighthouse itself looks great. It's just the rest of the image is black. If you're enjoying this video, there's a few ways that you can help me out. The best way to do that is to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Also, if that subscribe button down below is still red, you know what to do. Hit subscribe to Matt Loves Cameras. And finally, if you'd like to buy me a coffee for these wonderful videos, you can do so. Have a look in the video description and there's a link to buy me a coffee. Thank you to the most recent people who've bought me a coffee, Ryan, Anthony, and Darren. Now we're down by the water's edge and there's like a fence line going into the sea here at Raby Bay. Beautiful orange and red colors here. And I think this is okay. Like, this image is pretty good. I like this one. And the next one as well, you've got this beautiful orange golden sort of sunset here down by the water. You know, the shadow detail is a little bit murky, but I still think this is pretty good. This one is just some buildings here at nighttime, and you know, the sun's going down in the background, and you've got this nice golden glow, and you've got the telephone wires and the buildings. And again, I think this is pretty good as well. This next shot is of the Grand View Hotel, a beautiful old pub in Cleveland. And I really do like this shot. Like, it is dark, but you can actually see the lights here. You can see the nice lights in the veranda, some nice fairy lights. You've got the halation around some of those lights there. You can see the chimney. It looks kind of red, almost like that red scale sort of look to it. You can also see some detail there of the palm trees to the top right of the image. It might be a little bit difficult to see, but you can sort of see some outlines of palm trees there. Next shot is a portrait style view of the hotel. And again, you can see the nice lights, the fairy lights. It looks like it is metering for those brighter parts of the frame there. Everything else is just kind of dark. So I kind of like this one, but you know, is it a keeper? Is it a great shot? I'm not sure. Next up is a garage in Cleveland where they fix up cars. And yeah, look, it's sort of in dusk period here. It just looks a little bit underexposed, right? Well, maybe a lot underexposed. It's okay. I've got way better images of this location than this. Raby Bay, again, I've shot this beautifully at ISO 1600. ISO 3200, I would never use this shot. It's just too dark and not very nice. Here's a shot of the train station in Ormiston. I kind of like this one. There is some nice color there in the background and you've still got some atmospheric lights. Overall, I don't think there's a great sort of balance between the lighting situation between the artificial and the natural light. It's just too much sort of shadows and too much, you know, not enough detail there in the shadows for me. And the last shot I'm going to show you is a beautiful gum tree here. I think this looks great. Silhouette of a gum tree with those beautiful sunset colors in the background. And the sunset colors here are kind of like purpley, sort of mauve, kind of violet colors. And I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I really love this shot. So there you go. What did you think of my roll of CineStill 400D, shot at ISO 3200 in the Contax G1 and pushed 3 stops by my lab? What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. To be honest, look, I looked at the results and as soon as I saw the contact sheet onwards, I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed. I've had such good results pushing CineStill 400D to ISO 1600. I've been blown away by how good the shots are. I thought I might be able to capture some of that magic pushing at 3 stops and shooting it at ISO 3200, but I think I was mistaken. A lot of the shots on the roll aren't that good, and yeah, I do feel a little bit disappointed. So thinking about this roll, I'm thinking, what went wrong? Was the camera metering for the highlights? Did I do something wrong when I was shooting it? Or perhaps there just wasn't enough light exposed onto the film in the first place. After all, push processing isn't magic. Push processing cannot bring back magic detail that is not captured on film in the first place. I think if I was going to shoot this film at ISO 3200 again, I would certainly be shooting in brighter conditions. In brighter conditions, say at an indoor party or a concert or something like that, the chief advantage of shooting at ISO 3200 would be the fastest shutter speeds. Shooting outdoors around in the suburbs, I didn't really need fast shutter speeds. I was just trying to shoot in low light conditions. I think if you did go into some sort of indoor event where it was brightly lit and flashing lights, I think you could get much better results shooting at ISO 3200. So the big question, will I be shooting any of my remaining stock of CineStill 400D at ISO 3200 again? Honestly, probably not, unless I am going to a concert or something like that where I might consider it. I've only got like a handful of rolls left. I'm getting really good results at ISO 1600. I absolutely love them. It is my go-to film at the moment for dusk and early evening shooting. So quite honestly, no, I'm not going to waste another roll shooting it at ISO 3200. So that's it for this video. Please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and if you shot CineStill's 400D at ISO 3200, I would love to hear from you. Tell me all about your results below.